Today's guest is someone that I have known for a year now and have had the opportunity to work with for the last 8 months. With extensive experience in real estate, Jay is the founder and CEO of North Star Recovery and Wellness and North Star Financial Group. He is ambitious, visionary, and I was grateful that we could have the chance to sit down and talk about what he has going on right now and the journey that took him to where he is today. Happy to talk with you today. We've obviously been working together for a while now, and for people that don't know you, give a little intro of like your background.
Yeah, my name's Jay Tobey, and my background has primarily been in syndications, which is basically identifying an investment and bringing investors to that investment. And so I've done that, invested in different businesses since 2018, and primarily real estate as well. So real estate was always my focus. Um, every once in a while, it would lead into investing in some sort of business, and so that's kind of my background, is primarily trying to be able to invest in real estate.
Yeah, that's cool. So I know that your first investment was in the drug rehab center, which has now led to what we're doing now. But what was that story like, getting involved in that? How did you even hear about getting involved in the rehab center?
Yeah, so I don't know how far back you want to go, but I did 2 flips. I was working for a property management company right out of, I guess I haven't finished college, but I would say right out of college. I was working for a property management company. And through that, I was talking with investors every day. And I would kind of just learn from them. And one of them had an opportunity to invest in a drug rehab. Let me back up. One thing that I was doing was I was going to a lot of conferences. So I'd get up in front of the conference and give like a little spiel about the property management services, try to use us. I would sit in the back, at one of the booths. But in between, I would be able to listen to the speakers.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool because it was like getting paid to have an education. So I'd listen to the speakers, talk to the people around me, and I learned a lot about the real estate industry, like different strategies. I was always super focused on multifamily. There's a million different niches within real estate. When someone says real estate, they could mean a wide range of things. And so I always wanted to focus on multifamily. The quickest way for someone young to get quick capital is to do some flipping. I know that's like a hot item, so I don't know what the market looks like now. You have to fight against people that are maybe a bit more professional. But I had 2 family members that were moving, and I luckily had some friends that knew how to do flips as far as like contractors, and they would handle all the flip. I just found the deal. I actually found the money, which kind of leads me into why my career. I found the deal and the money, and they said, hey, we'll manage the subcontractors. We'll do all that. I said, okay, great. And so that gave me some pocket change to be able to take down an opportunity when I saw it, which was the rehab center. And
cool.
And so that's how I
Got started.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's weird how as I've listened to a lot of different books and podcasts, the thing that leads people to their long-term career is pretty unexpected oftentimes, and it's not exactly what you set out to do in the beginning, maybe, but you take hold of the opportunities that come your way, and whatever feels most in line with your passion and your skill set. It's cool that you were able to kind of take advantage of the opportunity, because you were in the drug rehab, but that's just step one into what has become now. So like, what's that process
How
been?
that flowed. So what was crazy was I always feel like I had mentors. I always tried to put mentors around myself. Call it a board of directors, call it mentorship, whatever you call it. And so I passed that opportunity by a mentor, and they said, don't do it. The operations team doesn't have very much experience, and the management team, mainly the other investors, have no experience. I said, that's kind of a recipe for failure. Might work, might not. And how it progressed is we opened right before 2020, which we all know what happened in 2020. And this particular facility needed it has a lot of beds. It does low margins, lots of individuals, rather than like going after Paris Hilton, who is a high margin, low amount of beds, we're the reverse. So it needed a lot of people going through the facility. Well, COVID was not a great time for people to be bunking up together in close quarters. So it really struggled. Plus, we learned we just kind of had the wrong operator. And so I was very much the youngest on the board and the most excited about the opportunity. And it was kind of my first thing. I said, I'm not going to let this fail.
Yeah.
Everyone else probably would have been like, oh, well, we lost some money. It's business. That's what you do.
It's a bigger chunk of your wealth, though.
It was like almost all of it. I was like, what? No way. I'm not going to let this fail. So I said, okay, I'll come and try to help. So I went to the facility and I fired the CEO, kind of restructured the business. And I just learned more about the space every month. I mean, I was working there probably every week, going there, trying to figure it out. Had no idea what insurance. I had never worked in dental. I had never worked in anything to do with insurance. And that's where primarily where a lot of these clients, where their payment comes from is through insurance, let alone mental health, substance abuse insurance, And so, just kind of fell in love with the whole model. I saw people change. Someone yesterday, I was on a phone call and they said I got bit by the bug, which I feel like I kind of did, which was like, wow, this is really, it's cool because it's a business, but it's also cool because you're like helping people. You're not just selling, and no diss on anyone who sells a product, but we're not selling a widget. We're not selling this. We're like trying to make a big impact on someone whose life has hit rock bottom. So I thought that was really cool. And then you can have some ROI on top of that. Like, wow, that was neat. And so I would just check in with the management team over the next couple years. And the other investors were relying more and more onto me being more and more involved. I shouldn't have been more involved because we were all supposed to be super passive. But I said, okay, I kind of got jerry-rigged into being the most involved person. So about a year ago, I bought out all my partners with the help of a family office in that one facility, with the goal of just doing a handful of other facilities in that general area, kind of northern Utah. And I just started looking at the industry as a whole and said, there is so much help that we can do. Not just like one or two other facilities, but can we make a bigger impact? And that is the journey that we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah.
And so that story has yet to be written.
Totally.
We'll be on a podcast maybe in 5 years talking about the beginning,
yeah.
the middle, and the end. I think we're at the end of that beginning journey and kind of now into the middle part of the journey.
I get that sense too. It's been a lot of building the last couple months, and we're still going to be building a lot, but a lot of foundation building. And now we're ready to hit the pavement, and we already are. The clothing drive and articles are being written. People are wanting to get involved. A lot of people, there's not a lot of enemies in this space. Like, everyone wants this problem to be better, right? So we have that momentum helping us. But what would you say to someone who wants to get involved in being part of this overall progression in this space? How does someone realistically help?
So there's a few different ways. I would say, like, are they looking to get involved like work-wise or just like as far as volunteer?
I want to be part of the solution of helping people find better recovery, whether it's on an individual basis or like through our institution,
Yeah. So what I would say is there's a handful of ways. One of the best ways would probably to be able to reach out to your local, a local group in your area and just say, how can I help? Just reaching out, because oftentimes what happens is they need a lot of volunteer work. Those people, the people in this industry are very much like the people in the medical industry. Just amazing hearts, and they work really hard. And there's usually more work than there are available people to do said work.
Yeah.
Because this problem's only getting worse and worse. Mental health, substance abuse, like we're on the wrong trajectory for finding solutions and helping. And so what I would say is reach out to like a local group, reach out to us. We can get you in touch with a lot of people. This last week with some of the publicity we had, I had a few people reach out and said, hey, I know of someone that needs help. What can I do?
Yeah, you said you got 2 people in the treatment centers, right?
In the treatment centers. Each different facility has its own specialty. and kind of what kind of client that they can help. So I reached out to some people in my network to say, this is the two different type of clientele. They didn't work for the facility that we own, and but it's just trying to help them find a place where they can land and get the help that they need. And so that's what
Yeah. What I was telling people, they were interviewing me briefly at the clothing drive, and the problem is largely a lack of connection and a lack of resources that they feel they have to deal with problems, and so they turn to drugs or alcohol. If we can provide an abundance of connection and community, that helps people as well. And so, from an individual standpoint, reaching out to neighbors, friends, people that you just don't know what they're going through. And then also at the institution level, what we're trying to accomplish is that more communication among the centers, creating a network, creating a system where we can share resources, share support, and get involved with joint community events. So
yeah. And you mentioned something that was interesting, community. I think in the United States we're losing a sense of community.
yeah,
We're going more to the individual, less of the community. And there was a guy who was in the space, in the behavioral health space, and he was half joking, half serious that a lot of problems would be solved if someone would just go to their grandma's house and just talk with them. Say, when you ran into this problem, I'm feeling this way. Have you ever felt like this before? They have tons of life experience, depending on if you have, people in your circle. But I think the conversation's happening more and more of saying people being okay. It's really cool because everyone I talked with that we say what we're doing at North Star, recovery and wellness, they say, wow, what's really cool is that people are able to have the open conversations surrounding mental health and surrounding substance abuse and asking for help. If we were talking in 2009, I think a lot of people were sweeping things under the rug, and it just was a little bit more taboo to talk like that. So
I've talked to at least over 100 people about what we're doing, and I would say about half of them will be like, wow, that's so cool. I have a relative. I have my dad, my spouse struggled with that. And I think that in and of itself shows that we're headed in a good direction by addressing this, that people are willing to tell me that when they just met me. That seems like 20 years ago that would be the dark little secret that they hide in their closet. And now this conversation is starting to happen where they can open up and we can show empathy and also work together and provide a better system than their relatives had.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And you asked how people can help. One of the things we're trying to do is congregate a lot of resources onto our website. So I would say go to our website and see what resources you can find there.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton. I've been surprised. There's a ton of government resources. There is a ton that has been made about this space. There's so many resources out there, but you have to sift.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of work, and most people are busy. They've got jobs, they've got kids, they've got responsibilities, they've got a lot of things. Now trying to find out how to help. So we're trying to just make easy links, easy connections, easy education.
That's great. When you took this leap, I mean, you're married with 2 kids. Did your wife, was she like scared that you're not working this W-2 that has health benefits, or was she pretty okay with it the whole time? And I wouldn't blame her if she wasn't, or if she was scared.
So I think she was a high performing athlete, so she understands that mentality of what it takes to succeed in business.
Yeah.
But she comes from a very traditional household where her parents are both highly educated in the collegiate system, and they actually were both educators at one point, and so she comes from very much that traditional lane, and I was going the traditional route as well, and traditional school has never worked super well for me. I love education. I listen to too many books. I listen to too many biographies. I'm always trying to learn and always trying to grow. So education in general is a really good thing. I just, you know, wasn't working within the traditional system.
Yeah.
And so that's a funny question to think back on, because when we originally got married, she was like, okay, you'll go to school. We didn't really like have a huge life plan. I knew I wanted to do things in investments. And, you know, she had a brother that went through that route, went through a very traditional, you know, graduate, go to a big firm, you know, put in a lot of hours. I could have gone that route. But I was going a little bit non-traditional, and it was really actually, I think, a little bit nerve-wracking for her at first. And then she had a bunch of experiences where she, you know, met people that had gone the same route I had, and it really helped her, really helped, because she was getting a master's as well when we were married. So she was, again, same thing, get a master's, go get a job, work your way up the corporate ladder. And yeah, honestly, it was a big, to make a long story short, it was a little nerve-wracking for her. But it probably took her just a few months to say, okay, and have some really unique experiences, probably 6 to 8 months, to say, okay, wow, I'm actually super bought in on this lane of thinking. And now she's probably more bought in than I am.
Yeah.
Of like, you know, who she's listened to, like Ed Milet and, you know, all these kind of people that sometimes talk about non-traditional. No one knocks the traditional route, but there are non-traditional paths that work. And I tell people it's just as hard both ways. They're just different challenges. You know,
Yeah.
You're going to lose sleep on either side of that conversation. But yeah, when I started this, having 2 kids, she is so good. One thing, when I was looking to get married, a guy told me he had built an amazing business up in the Pacific Northwest. I was on an LDS mission, and so we would meet a lot of people and have a lot of dinners. And he had built this amazing business, and I asked him, you know, we were talking about life in general, because that's one of the things I love. I love learning about people.
Yeah.
I love learning their stories and how they did things, so that, you know, there's a pathway to success. There's a clear pathway. People have done it. You just got to kind of follow the path. And anyway, I was talking with him, and he had mentioned about the person you're going to marry, that if you go into this route of building a business, and there was a great quote a few months ago by Ken, the founder of NVIDIA.
Oh, Jensen Huang?
Jensen Huang, founder of NVIDIA. As he said, if I knew how hard it would be to start a business, I probably wouldn't have done it. Now, that gets taken out of context, meaning like he likes the rewards, but it's a ton. What he said is, if you know going into it how hard it's going to be, you kind of find out through the struggle, and you're already too deep in to figure out to backpedal. So you just got to keep going forward. That's, I think, what he more meant.
Yeah.
But that's what this guy said. Is he said, man, it was really hard, and you both sacrifice. You sacrifice different things, but don't think it's a sacrifice. Both parties have to be willing to sacrifice. And if both parties are willing to sacrifice, then you can find success. But it's...
Yeah. So it does take sacrifice on both ends. She has to sacrifice the bi-weekly paycheck from an employer, and the, you know, if you worked for some big accounting firm, like, it's still going to be around, and like there's no question into, like, there's not really dips and valleys in that traditional route, but you also don't maybe have the same.
You're building your security.
Yeah, you're building your security, and you're building something that you can't really build in that traditional W-2 job, you know, and so...
Yeah, and both parties have to be bought in.
Yeah.
You know, there's times on vacations where I have to go in and take a call. But we are able to take vacations and not ask anyone because of the lifestyle we have.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons, but again, both people have to be bought in, and sometimes there's a ton of stories that people work too much, they work too hard, and it destroys their work-life balance. And I've always been trying to strive to have a good... There's times I run into, you know, wishing I could spend a little bit more time with our kids. And I think there's times where she runs into where she wishes she could have a little bit more help. But we know that there's a time and a season for everything.
Yeah.
There's a busy season, and then there's a time to plant, a time to reap.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing I heard was that don't think about what you want in life. Think about what kind of pain you're willing to endure, or like what you're willing to give up to get where you want. Because often, I'll say, oh, I want to be a movie star. Well, do I want to move to Hollywood and suck up to all these casting directors? Not really, So
Yeah, like wait tables. There's
yeah.
the guy who played Jim on The Office has a great story of where he told his mom he would go for X amount of time, and he was waiting tables, sleeping on friends' couches, poor as can be, and he called his mom up and he said, I haven't really made this. I've spent years doing this, the years we allotted when I was in my 20s to do this, and I might be done. And she said, give it a few more weeks. I think maybe let's call it 2 or 3. And that second week, he got called in to audition for Jim at The Office, and it changed his entire life.
Now he's a producer, married to whatever her name is, Emily Blunt. Her whole life totally changed.
Totally changed by just
wow.
that. But he went through years of not seeing the reward.
Yeah.
And was weeks away from
he
calling. He called his mom. His mom could have said, yeah, come home, pack your bags, come home, you're kind of done.
Yeah.
But she said, just give it a little bit more time.
Yeah. It reminds me of Mr. Beast, too, the YouTuber. Nothing from 11 to 18 except YouTube. And people don't see that. They just see the now. But he literally had no real friends, super awkward, didn't ever watch movies. Like he didn't know anything outside of YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
It's pretty interesting. Like now he's a little bit more cultured, but like in older interviews, he's like, if you ask me a movie, I promise you I haven't seen it. Like
I'm just doing YouTube.
I just watch YouTube. I just study YouTube.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you don't always need that level of obsession, but to get where he's at, you kind of do, like to be the best creator. So it's a good reminder to think about like what do I want to give up? Not, you can say whatever you want, but I think it's a better question. And so
there was a podcast I was listening to this morning that talked about that exact topic, which was going deep into something, not wide. They always talk about multiple streams of income. I was always looking for passive cash flow, so that's what I really focused on. But I do wish earlier in my 20s I would have found, and that's what I'm doing right now, is I found mental health, substance abuse, behavioral health, and I'm going deep into that and say, how can we really make an impact in that industry?
yeah.
I get things thrown at me left and right in other industries, and I just have to put blinders on and say, nope, I'm doing this. I can't go wide. They were talking about how people have found success. You ask, how have people found success? Elon Musk, it looks like he's doing a lot of things now. His first success was PayPal. He went deep in that. And they went over person after person after person. And now they can go a little bit wider. They have more resources. They probably have more teams. And so they look like they're going wide, and people say, oh, I should do that. I should get involved in YouTube and in this and this and this. But they don't go deep into really what they're looking for and in what they're passionate in. So.
Yeah, that's a good lesson because he did it one at a time for the most part, and then dipped his toe. Like I guess he was doing SpaceX and Tesla, but at that point he had already gone deep into at least 2 other major companies. PayPal.
And he had a big war chest.
Big war chest. A lot of money to throw at that. So that's a good reminder. It's easy because there are a million ways to make $1 million, but you gotta find opportunities that really align with what you're thinking about at night when you're not on the clock, or like what kind of problems are you just wanting to solve? And it sounds like this is what
it's been a beautiful blend of that exact thing. I really feel like it's a beautiful blend of the problems I've wanted to solve with the skill set I have.
Yeah.
And I will say that classic line of like, do what you're like do what you love, find a way to do what you love. I also how I built this is really good, Guy Raz, at sometimes saying, no, like you do what you find a niche, you get really good at that, and you don't sometimes following what you love to do. There's actually nothing there. Like find a problem that's mildly interesting that will like make you really think and make you really work, and go try to solve that problem. A quote I always have loved is, you help a lot of people, the outcome is you usually make a lot of money. So, and I think that was a Brad Beal podcaster I listened to years and years ago, and I said, oh wow, how can I help a lot of people? Usually products that do really well help a lot of people with something.
Yeah.
You know, the Snuggie, people were cold on their couches.
Yeah.
They wanted arms on a blanket. I mean, that's a dumb example, but
it's just you're right.
We could find more profound examples.
Yeah, no, but it's true. And I think that it leads to more satisfaction generally than just going straight to the how can I make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, you might find money, you might not, but I think there's generally more emptiness at the end of that rainbow than finding a real solution to problems that then have a byproduct of making money.
Yeah, and figure out what your skills are and figure out a problem that your skills match up with.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
if
cool.
you really love making a little bit better mousetraps, like there's a really good product, but I can make it a little bit better, or there's an amazing service, but if I do this, this, and this, like I can really improve this product. Just find out what is interesting to you enough to spend 10 years of your life doing. And
that's awesome. Well, I'm excited to be side by side, shoulder to shoulder as we build this, and it's cool seeing what has already been accomplished. There's so much traction, there's so much support, and it's going to be really cool.
It's a pretty fulfilling industry.
Yeah.
Substance abuse and mental health.
Yeah. Well, we'll do this again, and
one of many.
Catch up when there's we'll
do like the Joe Rogan thing where we do a year every year.
Yeah.
We'll just have a set date.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Parker.
Yep. All right.
I wish I could have come in with a little bit more energy.
Oh no, it's okay.